on the one hand, success isn't bad, but man, what it's doing to our kids, this overemphasis on it, this highly competitive nature of it is shutting our kids down. Where we have to land is remembering and really internalizing the fact that God's goal for our kids is wholeness, not success.
Welcome to Blueprints, a podcast helping parents thrive in today's demanding world. Join Greg and Cody as they explore God's big plan for families and the big job of raising kids.
Welcome to Blueprints. We are at episode 8, where we're going to be talking about how winning is actually a losing plan for parents. I'm Cody, and this is
Greg.
That is Greg.
This is me.
Yeah. To describe what happened was Greg seemed surprised.
There's a microphone.
Yeah, the microphone.
What is
his
happening?
Name, the whole thing.
Yeah. Welcome to the Ocho.
Welcome to the Ocho. A reference I still don't understand.
Well, it's 8 in Spanish.
No, yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for explaining that to me. Tell me a little bit about your relationship to the game of soccer, particularly to your son playing sports, soccer, all that stuff.
Yeah. So
you've had some heart change.
Oh my goodness, a big heart change. So a few years ago, my son was in the soccer tournament, and the first game of the soccer tournament, he scores, no joke, four goals. When he got 3, I threw my hat on the field, hat trick. The next day at his next game,
I do know what a hat trick is.
Yeah, all right, 3. And so the next game, I had this expectation in my heart, my kid's just always going to score 4 goals. And you know what? He was playing sluggish. I could feel the tension in my body. And there was this Holy Spirit moment where he came in and convicted me. It's like, hey, is this the dad you really want to be? And so it was this really, honestly, sweet moment for me and my son, because after the game, I sat him down and I was like, hey, man, I don't want to be that dad. Mm-hmm. I want to cheer you on. I want to root you on. And so as your dad, just expect that from me. There was this conviction, there was this repentance, and it was a really beautiful moment for me and my son, and our relationship has been so great. And now all he expects when he goes to a soccer game is for his dad to be rooting him on. Yeah. And the Spirit just has calmed me down, because I didn't want to have that, hey, if you come off this field and you don't score 4 goals, I'm not going to think this highly of you. I'm just always going to think highly of my kid, and I'm just going to love him always. And so it was a really good moment, but man, watching him score 4 goals was pretty awesome.
Yeah,
too.
No, it is fun. I go and support my kids at their sports games.
Can we hear some of your cheers?
Yeah, so I'll be like, go get that. Things like that. Or run,
Run toward there.
I think probably, and maybe this is like a mercy of God in my life, is that I don't even have the vocabulary to be one of those dads that could be driving my kids towards that, because I just don't understand enough about that. Or it's not even that, I just don't care enough about that. I don't care.
My wife and I got a text from you and your wife one day asking if we could teach you how to watch sports.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. That's the extent.
Yeah. Well, okay, first off, to be fair, you think that's a simple question? Not a simple answer.
I think
for
my
somebody
answer
who doesn't have cable and you want to watch actual sports, not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So, anyways, all this talk of sports, I think it is what we'll call a microcosm of a bigger issue that I think a lot of parents deal with regarding competitiveness, regarding this desire for success, not only in our own lives but in the lives of our kids, and kind of this rat race of a game that we feel like we have to constantly play, and the struggle that we feel in it. So with that said, let's turn to our question.
Hi, this is Eric from Billings, Montana, and I see a lot of other parents pushing their kids really hard to succeed, sometimes too hard, I think. I want my kids to succeed, but I don't want to make that the priority. Am I hurting my kids' future by not pushing them so hard?
I really like this question, I think because it hits so close to home for me, because we are a family that we like sports and we value sports. We don't want to make them number one or anything, but it is, as I've talked about just a couple minutes ago, it is something I wrestled with. What kind of dad do I want to be? Do I want to be coach dad? Do I want to be dad that roots and cheers and supports?
Mm-hmm.
And so, what are your thoughts on this question, Cody?
This is something that I think every parent asks
Yeah.
and feels. And this is really the big idea that I want us to focus on the rest of this episode is that an emphasis on winning is a losing plan for parents. I think we have to say that clearly, that an emphasis on winning is a losing plan for parents.
I really like that. Can you help unpack that though? Because I really, the culture and the environment that would create, I could see it freeing our kids up.
Yeah, but it's also really difficult.
Yeah.
And I think, and so I think we first have to look at, how does God feel about this? Does God care about this the same way we care about it? What are God's priorities in that? Does God care about winning the same way we care about it? And I mean, I think the short answer is no. God's love is not success-based.
Yeah.
God's values are not success-based.
Yeah, that's good.
In fact, God's love and God's values are in many ways anti-merit. Which is really hard for us to get.
Yeah, because we really love receiving God's grace and love, but it's really hard for us to always give it. And it always takes me back, thoughts like this about how God looks at us. One of the Psalms says, we are the apple of his eye. Mm-hmm. And I think when I think about becoming a dad, my son did absolutely nothing to earn my love, but I loved that kid infinitely the moment I met him. And he didn't do any chores. He didn't say any words. He didn't hug me. He's an infant. He's just coming out. But I love that kid so much. So I can only imagine how God looks and loves us. And it is, you're right. It's not based on anything I've done.
Yeah.
And he wants our hearts, not anything else, to increase his love. Like, he can't love us more than he already does.
Right. You know, I think of the story of Jesus when he's in the temple and, the woman comes and puts like her little 1 penny in the offering plate, and he makes this big deal. He says, this woman has given more than anybody here. Like, I think of that moment and like what that would look like in our culture. You know, he's standing in this place where there are people who have studied their entire life to be the leaders in that place.
Right.
He's standing in this place where some of the richest and wealthiest, most influential people are there who have accomplished so much. He's standing in this place where, there are these incredible families that have raised these remarkable kids and all that stuff. And he points out this woman who, because of the heart behind what she was doing, he says, this is what I care about. This is what matters to me. And I think it's such a poignant moment for them at that time.
Yeah.
And it's just as poignant now, to where if we look at all these things that we care so much about, that we are willing to spend thousands of dollars on, thousands of hours on,
right.
Fret about it, be anxious about it, be competitive about it, be mean about it, be all of these things. Wow. God doesn't care at all about any of that stuff. And I think that's one of the first things is God's love is not success-based. God's values are not success-based.
Yeah.
God does not care in the same way that we care about these things.
Yeah, and I guess it's really understanding what God looks at as successful.
Yeah. I think what's hard is that it is a radical reversal of American
It's
values,
totally different. Yeah.
And which is what makes it challenging for parents. If God's love is not success-based, we have to remember, though, and this is our kind of the second point, is that we live in a success-based society. Our kids are feeling it. We live in a world where this is the water that we swim in, this is the air that we breathe. We are judged by our output. It is an idol of our culture, I would say, to the point where it's going to be hard for us to escape it. Like we go to our jobs, we're judged on our output.
Yeah.
Our value there, our direct value, oftentimes monetarily, is directly predicated on our output. Our schools are the same way. Sports are the same way.
I mean, even the Simpsons. Bart sings a song. SUCCESS. That's the way you spell success.
Greg, even in The Simpsons.
Yes.
It's
success driven.
It is success driven.
I just wanted to throw us for a loop.
Thank you. Thank you for throwing that in there. Where I see this play out more than anything, where I think parents tip their hats to the fact that this is a struggle, is in the world of education. So let's talk about that for just a little bit.
Yeah.
I am a very driven individual. I've been a driven individual my whole life.
Yeah, can you keep telling us how awesome you are?
And I actually make you kind of list off.
Yeah, you're talking about how you're wired.
Yeah, we're wired this way.
Totally.
And particularly in education, like I loved school. I loved going to school. I loved doing things and accomplishing things in school. And so education, I see on the one hand as this really important part of life. I see it as this good thing in general.
Yeah.
But man, like parents lose their lunch over education.
Oh, yeah.
Like they are just fanatics about it.
Man, we have a tendency, we can create environments where it's so tense for our kids, especially as they grow older and they're about to launch. They feel so much pressure about going into the next phase of life after high school. I was a youth pastor for years, and so many times the 18-year-olds, the seniors that are about to graduate, they just feel the weight of the world because it's like, what are you going to do next? What's next? And then they would go and stress over, am I going to the right college? Am I going to the wrong college? And am I taking a gap year? Does that mean I'm lazy? And they have a tendency to feel the weight of the world already. And so for us as parents, like, are we adding to that?
Yeah.
How are we freeing our kids? Because education, like, I get there's some awesome schools.
Yeah.
Shout out Community College of Southern Nevada. Probably heard of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, parents can. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Well, I mean, think about it. Let's say if the ultimate goal of parenting is to create successful adults, right? Mm-hmm. Which I think a lot of us feel.
Yeah.
That means they've got a good job, they've married the right person, they live in the right neighborhood, in the right city, all that stuff. If you start tracking that back, that means that they've gone to the right college. In order to get into the right college, they have to have gone to the right high school. They've had to do well at that high school. They've had to perform not only well in high school, but well in all these extracurricular activities. That means you're starting pushing further and further back to the point where we are like getting on wait lists for certain preschools and arguing over whether or not our kids should be reading by the age of 3.
Right.
Like it gets crazy really quickly if our ultimate view is that success is the most important thing for our kids.
Yeah.
And this is where we see it. And on the one hand, success isn't bad.
No.
Going to a good school
we're not
is
knocking
not
on
bad.
success.
Education is not a bad thing. But man, what it's doing to our kids, this overemphasis on it, this highly competitive nature of it is shutting our kids down.
Yeah.
And this is what I have seen both in just the kids that I see through my friends, and then also as an educator at a collegiate level, like the level of anxiety that kids feel about doing well in school, the level of whether it's laziness or hyper-competitiveness or anything like that, what it's doing to them is ultimately shutting them down because kids are not made to constantly live in fear of failure.
Yeah. We've attached, and they could find their identity so much, their value at least, I should say, in a letter of a grade.
Yeah.
Over how God views them, over how their parents love them and view them. And it even gets to the point of the culture of fear is, oh no, I got to be. I'm a straight A student that got a B, and now I got to show my parents this. And it's the tension. I went through this.
Oh, yeah.
And the fear of, oh no, how are my parents going to react when they see this letter?
Yeah.
And instead trying to like have a spirit of man, how can we grow in this? Okay, you got this letter. How can we help you get to the next level? Or how can we help you in this moment? Because you've talked about how some kids are just naturally going to get A's. Like they're just kind of wired in that way. Some kids are going to struggle to get C's, but I think if they're trying, I think that should be the effort. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But having an environment where our kids aren't afraid of a letter.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I mean, look, sometimes you want to be able to spell some words with your grades, and that's okay.
No word's good, but yeah.
No. I remember a very specific moment where I had to learn this lesson. It was in seminary. I've always liked doing well in school. I've always worked hard in that, and I remember my wife and I were married at the time, going to seminary. We had just had our second kid. I decided to take honors Greek and we called it homicide Hebrew.
Whoa.
Because it was 2 semesters of Hebrew all put into 1 semester to accelerate it for reasons I don't understand. I don't know why I took it, but I was doing that at the same time. And let's just say I got a D for the first time in my life on one of the exams. And I was really, really frustrated by it. I was like, I got to work harder. I got to do more. And I remember my wife pulling me aside and saying, basically, like, you can either get A's or you can be a present husband and father.
Wow. Okay.
Those are your choices.
Okay.
And I'm like, all right.
Okay.
And
So,
so
what'd you
let's just
choose?
say I got a C that year.
Yeah, and you were fine.
And you
And
know
your
what?
kids
And I
loved
still,
you.
like I still don't read Hebrew very well, but I was present and available.
Yeah.
And it was just it was a good moment of like kind of like that kind of flick in the face of, hey, this isn't what matters.
Yeah.
This is what matters. But I think that we all need to feel this. And so I think going back to that question of like, how do we reconcile this tension of we see everybody competitive to the point where they're trying to make sure that their kids succeed and get the most success? We feel this tension in it. How do we do this? I think where we have to land is remembering and really internalizing the fact that God's goal for our kids is wholeness, not success.
Yeah, Cody, I'm excited to talk about this because we're going to talk about kind of what we can do and what success kind of looks like through the lens of the Bible and through the lens of God. But can you help me understand a little bit about what you said about God's goal for our kids is wholeness? What do you mean by that?
I think of Jesus' statement, and this is one of those haunting statements that I'll hear and read over and over again, and it just gets me every single time, is that, what does it matter if we gain the whole world but lose our soul?
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
What does it matter if we gain the whole world but lose our soul? Which is another way of saying is if our goal is to gain the whole world, we will lose our soul.
Yeah.
I think if we look at it, never in the Bible is God's goal for his people to be these like bastions of success.
Right.
If you look at it, like God's people were never the superpowers. Like never once has God's people been the superpower in the world.
Right.
There's always an Egypt or an Assyria or
Babylon
or something like that, or a Rome or Greece,
totally.
All that stuff. God's goal has never been that. What he wants is us to be fully alive in him.
Yeah.
He wants us to become whole in him and become in the likeness of him. So for him, success is not what we call success. It's the cultivation of the fruit of the Spirit. It's not a summa cum laude stamp on a diploma.
Mm-hmm.
It is ultimately us looking more and more like him. And I think what that ultimately, first it shows, God knows that we can't thrive if we're constantly afraid of failure.
Right. Yeah.
I think he knows that.
Yeah.
And he hasn't wired us that way. And so it shouldn't be a shock that our kids aren't thriving right now.
Mm-hmm.
If they're constantly feeling afraid of letting people down, whether that's producing laziness in them, timidity in them, or just a really, really unhealthy value and identity in success. Like our kids are not thriving as a result of this because we're not supposed to be afraid of failure all the time.
Yeah, it makes me think of the verses out of 1 Corinthians chapter 13. It's if you've been to a wedding, you've heard these verses so much. Funny enough, Paul didn't write these with weddings in mind. He wrote these about a community of believers wanting to love, but he
wanting to get married.
I mean, he's a single dude, so who's to say?
That's true.
But he starts off chapter 13 of 1 Corinthians by talking about all these things. If I do all these accomplishments, but I don't have love, I gain nothing. And it's this cold realization that if we don't have the love of Christ in our homes, where our kids are feeling that over the need to be worldly successful, then it's going to equal nothing. It's not going to be a good environment for our kids to be more and more alive in Christ.
So I think there's 3 really practical things we can do as parents who are struggling with this question of how do we basically, am I hurting my kids by not pushing them so hard? Am I doing something wrong by not joining in kind of this rat race of success? First off, the very short answer is no, you're not hurting your kids. You're probably doing them a favor by not doing this. And in the midst of that is just shifting what we value in our kids. It's prioritizing effort over outcome, for example. And this is great with grades. This is great with sports. This is great with anything they do. Like if they're putting in the work, like that's great.
Celebrate
that's what you want to do.
Take them to ice cream.
They could put in the work and lose every time.
Yeah.
Like that's still good. And they could not put in the work and win every time.
Right.
And that's also not a good thing. So prioritize effort over outcome. Prioritize their attitude over their performance.
Yeah.
Are they being humble? Are they being kind? Are they being gracious? Are they being joyful?
Right.
All of those.
The fruits of the Spirit, are they present?
Fruits of the Spirit when they win, when they lose.
Right.
All that stuff. And then prioritizing delight over obligation. This to me has been one of the more freeing ones for me.
Okay,
Both as a
tell me
parent,
about that.
So I think as parents, we feel this obligation to put our kids in things or have them do well in things that that we perceive for some reason that other kids are supposed to be good at. And some of our kids are going to really love those things, and that's great. Some of our kids are not.
Yeah.
And I think we get the opportunity to follow their delight, encourage their delight, and not bother about the obligation. So some of our kids are really going to like school and really do well in school and really enjoy it. Some of our kids are going to really enjoy sports. Some of our kids are going to really enjoy music or finding bugs. Or they're going to enjoy all of these different things.
Right.
And I think that that's okay.
Can you translate this into adulthood? And let's say, would you delight in my love over kickball?
Well, I was actually going to bring up kickball. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Because this is, I think, a great thing. Like, there are some adults who love kickball.
Who I for one, am one of them.
Yes.
The last kickball game I was in, we lost by 1.
Yeah.
We came back. We stormed back. We were down 15-9. And we got it to 15-14.
That's really impressive.
Thank you.
That's a really impressive thing that you did there.
You seem so unimpressed.
Yeah. When you take a step back, this is, I think, a very real problem for parents.
Yeah.
I feel this all the time. Like, I feel it all the time. I feel, am I involving my kids in enough things?
Right.
What if we say no to this thing, for example? What if they don't get into the All-State whatever, or they don't join whatever soccer team, or they don't join, go to this school over this other school?
Right.
What if they should be going to a private school, homeschool, public school, the whole list of things.
Gamut,
And you can get into this fear of like, if we are not doing this, then they're not going to do this, and they can't get in there, then they can't have this thing.
The ladder system.
And, all of that stuff. And so I feel that, like, I get that. I think every parent is dealing with that as they raise their kids. And I think one of the most freeing things that we can find in God's plan for raising kids is that is a game that he genuinely doesn't care about. He is not interested in playing it. Like, he sees it for what it is. And he says, you don't have to play that game. You don't have to participate in that. That play the game that I'm calling you to, which is to help raise your kids to be more and more like me. It's kind of like the whole world is playing kickball.
Whoa.
Then you can either, without delight, go and join in and kick a stupid ball.
Wow.
And run around the stupid bases.
Wow.
While other people pick up the stupid ball and try to throw it at you. You can do that.
The headshots are great.
The headshots are great. You can go and play that game
Yeah.
and choose to do that, even if you don't want to. Or you can just not participate. You can just say, you know what? I'm just not going to play that game.
Next week on Blueprints.
Yeah, can you keep telling us how awesome you are?
I actually make you kind of list off
yeah,
all
that's
the
how we
things
start
that I
our
do.
days
Like, that's
here.
how we start our days. Like, Cody is this. Cody did this. Cody accomplished this.
Hi, this is Diane from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Blueprints is a production of Grace-Based Families, a nonprofit that equips ordinary parents to raise extraordinary kids. Grace-Based Families makes free resources for parents thanks to the generosity of listeners like you. To join in the work of transforming generations of families, go to gracebassedfamilies.com/join.